So, what if I told you that a janitor could actually be a better investor than a Harvard-educated finance executive? Today, we're going to unpack the really powerful and honestly kind of counterintuitive lessons from Morgan Housel's brilliant book, The Psychology of Money. And it all kicks off with a true story that will probably change how you see wealth forever.
Okay, check this out. On one hand, you've got Ronald Reed, a guy who is a janitor and a gas station attendant his whole life, who secretly built up an $8 million fortune. And then on the other hand, you have Richard Fuscone, a Harvard-educated Merrill Lynch executive who went completely bankrupt. I mean, how is that even possible? How does a janitor with zero formal training financially crush a top-tier executive? Well, the answer has almost nothing to do with intelligence or education and everything to do with psychology. To really get this, we've got to dig into their stories a bit deeper, because it's in these two totally opposite lives that we find the core ideas that challenge pretty much everything we've been taught about being successful with money.
All right, let's start with Ronald Reed. His life was, the definition of simple. He worked manual labor jobs, lived in the same modest house for decades, no fancy cars, no big vacations. But here was his secret. He consistently saved whatever he could and just put it into stable blue-chip stocks. Then, he did the hardest part of all, which was nothing. He just waited for decades. And that incredible patience is what allowed the magic of compounding to turn his little savings into a massive $8 million fortune.
Now let's flip that and look at Richard Fuscone. This guy had every advantage you can imagine, right? A Harvard MBA, a super high-powered job at Merrill Lynch, but his behavior was the complete opposite. He lived a life of insane excess, borrowing huge amounts of money to keep up an 18,000-square-foot mansion. So when the 2008 financial crisis hit, that whole high-leverage lifestyle just completely fell apart, leaving him totally bankrupt.
This crazy contrast brings us right to the main idea of the book, what the author calls the greatest show on earth. Because the answer to our puzzle isn't hidden in some complex spreadsheet or financial model. Nope, it's found inside our own minds.
And here it is. This is the central lesson of the entire book. Getting good with money isn't a hard science like physics. It's a soft skill. What that really means is that how you behave is way more important than what you know. Your patience, your discipline, your humility, these are the things that actually build wealth, not your credentials. A janitor with the right behavior can beat a genius with the wrong one every single time. You know, this slide really illustrates the big mistake so many of us make. We treat money like it's a machine, governed by these strict rules and laws. But in reality, it's governed by human psychology, which is messy, emotional, and full of nuance. How you handle your own greed and fear when the market is going wild matters infinitely more than the formulas you can punch into a spreadsheet.
But listen, our individual behavior isn't the whole story. We also have to account for two really powerful, invisible forces that we tend to ignore: luck and its sibling, risk.
NYU professor Scott Galloway puts it perfectly. Nothing is as good or as bad as it seems. And this just means we need to be humble. You know those amazing success stories? They often have a pretty healthy dose of good luck baked in. And those devastating failures, a lot of that can be the result of risk, which is really just luck's evil twin. Realizing this stops you from blindly trying to copy other people, and it helps you prepare for the unexpected.
So what's the actual takeaway here? Stop trying to copy the outliers, the Bill Gateses and Warren Buffetts of the world. Their stories are so extreme that luck played a massive, undeniable role. Instead of focusing on specific people, focus on the broad, repeatable patterns of behavior, saving consistently, being patient for decades, and avoiding unnecessary debt. Those are the things you can actually control.
This brings us to one of the most important financial skills you can possibly learn, and yet it's almost never taught. It's the simple but incredibly profound skill of knowing when you have enough. I mean, think about it. Why do incredibly wealthy people risk everything they have and need for something they don't have and don't need? It's because for them, the goalpost for rich just keeps moving. There is no ceiling. They always see someone with more, and that feeling of having enough just vanishes.
There's this amazing story about authors Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller at a billionaire's party. Vonnegut points out that their billionaire host made more money in a single day than Heller had earned from his entire masterpiece novel, Catch-22. And Heller's response was just perfect. He said, "Yes, but I have something he will never have. Enough." Now that is true wealth. The author offers a really simple equation for this. Happiness equals your results minus your expectations. So if your expectations are constantly rising just as fast as your results, you'll never feel like you're actually getting ahead. You're just running on a treadmill. The most difficult and the most vital financial skill is getting that goalpost to stop moving.
So all of this leads us to our final, and I think most empowering section. If the goal isn't just more, then what is all this for? What is money's greatest dividend? It's not a bigger house or a faster car. It's freedom. The single greatest thing money can buy is control over your own time. It's the ability to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want.
So really, this is the ultimate goal. True wealth isn't a number sitting in a bank account. It's the autonomy to shape your own life. It's the ability to wake up every single morning and say, you know what? I can do whatever I want today. That freedom, that control over your time, that is the highest form of wealth.
So I'll leave you with this question to really think about. Forget the fancy cars and the mansions for just a moment. What does true financial freedom, the actual control over your own time and your own life, what does that really look like for you?